July 13th, 2020. Joe here at the Wake Up Channel. I appreciate everybody for joining me today. It has been about 2 months or so since I've done a video, and there's this very specific reason why. I have been really inundated with a lot of things. I've been inundated with the property, doing certain things here in Virginia. I moved to Virginia because I felt that the urban areas were going to explode. And that was back in January. Started to make the preparations to move. And lo and behold, everything did explode in a lot of the areas, especially Ohio, New York, Atlanta, New Orleans, California, obviously. California is always exploding. But I really wanted to get back to, I didn't really know what to talk about. I mean, I've been trying to keep up with the news. I have been really keeping up with it as much. I know that everything is just kind of falling apart, as it were. Things are quickly becoming unfixable in this country. We are just constantly putting Band-Aids on things, and I'm not exactly sure if we can put any more Band-Aids on anything before we just bleed out as a country. Freedom runs dry, and this country will be bled dry of freedom the more we allow them to take away the freedoms that we have enjoyed for so long. I want to keep these videos very short. I know that our attention spans are very, very short right now. So many things are going on. I want to keep these videos to around 5-10 minutes max. I was at Black Lives Matter. Of course, this is about Black Lives Matter. It is a Marxist organization, whether you like to believe it or not. If you don't believe me, you can actually go to blacklivesmatter.com. This was an organization that was formed back in 2013, as we all know, with the Trayvon Martin case. Trayvon Martin was not a good kid. He wasn't targeted by someone. He wasn't targeted by some racist that was out there just to kill him. Trayvon Martin was up to no good. A lot of these so-called victims were up to no good. Now, do they deserve to die? Absolutely not. They don't deserve to die. The cops should not be killing people. They should. Every time a cop kills someone, yes, it's horrible. There's investigations. I'm sure the cop feels really bad. But you wouldn't know that if you listen to Black Lives Matter, because if you are adherent to the Black Lives Matter ideology, it is all about separating races. It is all about separating the ideology of capitalism versus Marxism. Please understand, we are at the end of a full super cycle. Not 1,000 years, but every 100 years or so, we do make a shift. And it is usually the shift between freedom and slavery. There are three main types of economics or economic policies or economic systems: feudalism, capitalism, and Marxism. You have to have a long period of capitalism to make Marxism work. This is what they don't want you to know. This is why Sweden and Switzerland had to be bailed out by the United States and capitalism itself in order for their system to work. People like Bernie Sanders and the Bernie Bros, they keep wanting to point the finger to the Nordic countries because they know what's going on. Socialism just works there. They are not socialist countries. They are a hybrid type of capitalism democracy state. They are not a pure socialism state. But what Black Lives Matter wants in this country is pure Marxism. If you have not watched the show, The Man in the High Castle, I always recommend that, because you can see that, especially on season 4, you see a lot of the same things that are happening. We have a communist movement moved by just black people, and they want to take over the the West Coast, which they are already doing right now. California is the epicenter of the Marxist state. We have Governor Newsom over there constantly testing the Constitution and all of our Bill of Rights. Just recently, over in, I believe, wherever that was, with the couple there. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart, but the couple that brandished their weapons. When they were in a closed community. The protest broke the gates. They went through it, and now they have had their guns taken away from them. They have been confiscated. If you didn't think guns were ever going to be confiscated. This is just another reason. It's all backed by Black Lives Matter. They want to take your guns, but at the same time, they're arming themselves as well. What do you think they're doing with this this NFAC coalition? It's the Not Effing Around coalition. Of course, they want to take over Texas. They want Texas as their own state. They want their land and mule, right? And I guess that's really where it all comes from. But this country has given back so much. There was a civil war that was fought. Republicans under Abraham Lincoln, the new Republican Party, was the party that freed the slaves, was the party that really forwarded the civil rights movement. But now Republicans are just the most racist people on the planet. This is something I will never understand. I just can't understand it. I mean, and does that make me a racist because I simply don't understand that? No. It makes me a logical human being because I know what's in my heart. And you know what? It doesn't even really matter what's in my heart. I don't have to like you. It doesn't matter what color you are. But if you are a good person, I will probably like you. But if you're a bad person, if you have nefarious goals and you support a twisted ideology that seeks to take away my freedoms, yes, I do not like you. I don't want to have anything to do with you because why? You are dangerous. You are a dangerous individual to the freedom of this country, to the freedom of a constitutional republic, which is so very fragile. Because it cannot be found anywhere else in the world, at least not in the way that we have it here with our diverse state and our lax immigration policies. People simply want to throw that away. Here on blacklivesmatter.com, if you haven't been to blacklivesmatter.com, please go there to understand what they're all about. Black Lives Matter is not about black lives. It is about everything other than black lives. Even on their website themselves, they talk about, let's just read a few things here. Every day we commit to healing ourselves and each other and to co-creating alongside comrades, right? Comrades. Isn't that what communists call each other? Their friends or comrades, allies and family, a culture where each person feels seen, heard, and supported. We acknowledge, respect, and celebrate differences and commonalities. This is very interesting here. We work vigorously for freedom and justice for black people and, by extension, all people. They are putting themselves first. They sound like an organization that wants to segregate people. And that is what the goals of communism and Marxism is to separate people. Remember that anytime a government is trying to work on something in secret, or any kind of organization wants to work on something in secret, they will segregate the people. And they will have different people working on different things. Now, Black Lives Matter is separated into a lot of different branches where they have different goals under one ideology. What is that ideology? They are not shy about it. Let's go all the way down. Now, obviously, they are all about the trans community and so forth. They do say a lot of things about how the trans community is being literally just targeted and murdered. If you go to the actual statistics, this is not true. Trans women are not more targeted or less targeted than any other human on Earth, or at least in this country. The statistics will prove that. They are actually less likely to be murdered. The reason why is because the reason why people are so upset about it, I guess, is because every time there is a murder, the media, which is run by the CIA, which is part of the deep state, they pick and choose what is going to fit their narrative, what they are going to shove down your throat. This happens with every media organization out there. I dare say even Fox News. This is why I try to get my news from every single source out there, so at least I have a good idea about what is a lie and what might be the truth. But we have entered a very bizarre universe where we are all children. And we are all children of the Marxist revolution. That is going to happen whether we like it or not. Now, they will not term it a Marxist revolution. They will have some other type of fancy name to put on it because that is all part of the programming that the deep state and the government and the left and the big spaghetti monster that's in the sky that wants to take away your rights. it's just a shadow of what was something else in the past. It's just a shadow. It's a shadow government. We keep referring to a shadow government, but it's all related. And a group like Black Lives Matter is one of the strong arms of this movement. Now, this is not to say that I don't believe that Black Lives Matter. I mean, saying something like that would be very stupid. But it's the name itself is ingenious because it's something that you cannot disagree with. And if you disagree with that, then you are a racist and you are a horrible human being. So for that matter and that matter alone, it's very genius. Here at the end, they actually tell us what they're all about. If you haven't read this, if you have, you know what I'm talking about. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. This is what they want to do. They want to destroy the nuclear family union. This is what happens in a lot of the Democrat areas. This is what has happened over the last 50, 60 years. The fatherhood, the fathers in the homes have been disappearing. Fathers are leaving their families in record numbers, or women are leaving their husbands. And they're breaking the families up, and this is what happens. Then the families, or the mothers and the fathers, or the separate types of entities, are more easily controlled. They're more willing to bend the knee to the state, and we see this happening over and over. We're just more willing to let the government in and let them take control of everything. The government was never meant to do that. The government was meant to provide an oversight over just a few things, and it's just basically protecting the country and protecting our rights and the constitutional rights of every single American. And that is it. That's the only thing the government is really supposed to do. I have a video here. I know that I'm running into 12 minutes. I promise next videos is going to be a little bit shorter here, but this is very important here. This is Black Lives Matter talking about defunding the police in their own words, mind you, and we'll discuss it afterwards.
Hey y'all, what's up? So, can I tell you something? We've been talking a lot about defund the police. You've probably heard a lot of people talking about it, and I've been hearing people ask, well, what does it mean? I don't get it. Or it's complicated and it's confusing. It's not really confusing, but let's talk about it.
I'm sorry. There was one thing I really wanted to point out here, and I'm going to stop this a few times. They are trying to say the police are out of control because of all these killings. All right. They have a little nice chart here. Say it's not even really going up, but these are all killings by the police every single year, not just black people, but from everyone. And what they are not telling you is that the amount of black people that are killed, because this is what they're talking about, black people getting killed by the police. They don't want to say the amount of unarmed black people that got killed by the police, I think it's in the single digits somewhere. I think it's like 9 or 10 the whole year for 2019, I believe it was. And if these are the types of killings that really need to be discussed, if any. Now, if we're talking about people that are armed, yeah, they kind of have it coming. If you want to go toe-to-toe with a police officer with a weapon, any kind of weapon, I don't care if it's a taser, I don't care if it's a gun, I don't care if it's a knife, they are going to shoot you because they want to go home to their families. It doesn't really matter what you think. It doesn't really matter what the protest is about. It doesn't matter whether you believe it's fair or not. You make a conscious decision to take your own lives in your hands. I don't want to hear anything about whether it's fair or not, because those cops that are out there, whether you believe they're evil or good or whatever, they are human beings too, and they usually have families and they want to go home to their families. It's really just that simple. Now, there are a few circumstances, a few instances that happens, and yes, in the majority of those, if not all, the cop is either arrested, they go to jail, they lose their job, they are dealt with. So this idea that cops are out of control is a 100% fabrication. It is 100% lie. So we'll just go ahead and continue the video.
So a lot of people are asking, well, why defund the police? Why not police reform? So we've tried that. We've tried police reform over many, many years, and still it stays the same. We've tried to figure out different ways to train police. Still, things stay the same. Still to this day, right now, every year, over 1,000 men, women, and children are killed by police. It's out of control.
Okay, so what I really wanted to say with this video, and she's going to get into it right here and right now, the real reason why they want to defund the police is not because of the police. It's not because of trying to save the police. It's not because they want to make the police better. It is because they want to take the billions of dollars that go into the policing of this country and put it into Marxist-like type of state-run welfare systems. That is what they want to do. That's what their goals were to begin with. They want to get the population hooked on the government like a drug. The sad fact of the matter is that most of the people out there, that we have an epidemic of being very tied to the government. We are tied. A lot of people are tied to the government as far as welfare and government housing and stuff like that. I understand there's a lot of people that need that, especially new mothers. Unfortunately, for a lot of those new mothers, they go to the route of Planned Parenthood and they get an abortion, or they stick it out without their fathers there, and that is what causes a lot of these issues. So at one point, you can make the argument that they do have a point. They just want to help people out, but that's really the point of Marxism, is just to help people out, right? That's the way it is. The beginning, right before they knock on your door and they take away all of your rights.
So that's what people are saying, just maybe defund the police, because it's really not working. It's a system that is built on harming Black people. Black people are being targeted disproportionately. People are still being killed, with men, women, and children still being killed. So people are saying maybe it's time to divest some of those resources and invest resources in a different way, in a way that redefines what protection really can look like. So America spends $100 billion on policing and another $80 billion on incarceration.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop it right there. She is really just going back and forth over the next 2 minutes or so about this $80 billion figure. And I've watched it. If you're free to go to Black Lives Matter and watch this whole 4-minute video. I think it's even too much for that. I mean, this is one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter. She is doing nothing but telling you lies about everything. This is a Marxist organization that wants to take your freedoms away. They want to take your tax dollars and fund it into Marxist-led types of programs instead of the law and order that we all need. To say that we do not need a police is the most asinine thing that I could probably think of. Of course, in 2020, there are literally a myriad of asinine things that I can think of. We have been given such a bounty of clown-like mentality that it is really hard to choose what is the most stupid. But this is one of the most stupid ideas that is directly tied to this dangerous Marxist ideology of taking away the police. Now, they are trained Marxists, so they're not stupid, right? They know their ideology, but they also understand that any kind of communist state, any kind of Marxist state needs a boot to step on the necks of the population to get them to conform to their will. This is not going to happen just simply by protest, by people burning down small businesses. they want a certain amount of policing, but the only reason why they want that amount of policing is to enforce their ideologies, to make you succumb to their demands. Now, Black Lives Matter has made a lot of demands. The majority of them are ridiculous. You can look up their demands if you want. I'm not going to go through the long list, but a lot of them are very, very dangerous and unrealistic, to say the least. When we start conflating the idea of Black Lives Matter with the Marxist organization and their own true goals, they are hiding behind the shadow of racism. They are hiding that behind the guilt that a lot of white people feel because they feel like they're not doing enough for the movement or cause. And they are just stupid enough to get behind this type of organization so it can make them feel like they are a good enough individual and they will fit better into this social construct of society that will lead to a better future of some sort. You know, it's all vague. It's all very, it's all very misty. Like, we don't really understand what they really want, but this is what they want. They want a communist state, and I believe that we are entering that type of late stage capitalism where corruption. Now, this is something that I do believe in, that corruption has made a huge imprint into capitalism and has sullied it in a lot of ways. But we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The capitalism, at least free market capitalism, will always prevail as the best type of system to raise people out of poverty, to raise them out of the situations that they find themselves in through, either circumstances or bad choices. A lot of the reason why a lot of people end up in hugely bad situations are bad choices. And that's just the unfortunate truth of the matter. And no one likes to hear that. No one likes to hear the truth of why they are at where they are at. But a lot of it has to do with just making really bad choices in life. Now, I'm not saying that's what happens every single time. But they are taking that small percentage of the time where people truly are in bad circumstances, and they are trying to twist that into a way to make everyone bend to the wheel and say, okay, let's just change our system to make sure everyone is equal. We're all going to be equally miserable, but it's not just simply being miserable. We will lose our rights. We will lose our way of living and our culture and everything that we have grown to love about this country and the diversity that it does have. This is an organization that threatens the very heart of our democracy and our republic and our Constitution as a whole. I will see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.